for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Supercross stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Welcome, everyone. I am so excited today. We have just such a special, great guest. Katie McBratney from Renew VC, Renew Venture Capital is here with us. You just do not want to miss this episode. If you have any interest in anything, this is the place for you to be right now. So, Katie, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me. You're such a vitally important person in my life and in the community here. Uh, what brought you to Renew VC? This has not been a straight path for you, I don't think.
No, thanks for having me, Devin. I'm such a fan of you and the show, so it's great to be here. You're absolutely right. I did not have a straight path necessarily across my career, and certainly never expected myself to be working in the venture capital world. But here I am, and that's part of the adventure. I actually graduated with a degree in journalism, worked at nonprofits, and then worked in brand marketing. So really building community and looking at how that connects to emotions and motivations and people and business, which led me to early stage startups, which I spent the past 10 years focused on, and was an operator for a long time at early stage companies, almost all mission-led companies, and then co-founded a company called Own Trail, which I left in 2023. And my path crossed with Mark Hubbard, who is the managing partner of Renew. And a spark was lit, and this possibility that I hadn't thought of for myself, for this next stage of my journey, all the dots kind of aligned in how I could channel my curiosity, my ambition, my love of community and change and challenging limiting systems with business. And that's where we are today.
You have at Renew VC this really quite unique approach in that you're leaning in very deliberately, not only to social impact, but on this, I view it as parallel, but such an important part of backing diverse founders, including women and minorities. Tell us a little bit about how that focus developed and how you connect to it, why that's important to you, because I think it really is. I mean, I think it's the reason that you are at Renew VC. I think you tell me, but tell us
Yeah,
about that.
absolutely. I don't think I would be in this role, and I don't think anyone could be effective in working at this kind of firm or this kind of thesis if it doesn't resonate with you personally. And so, I'm a non-binary person. I was part of early stage startups, helping fundraise, et cetera. I know where and have experienced a lot of where the systems don't work for everyone. So that's been something that even going back prior to starting my career, I've just been aware of the injustice and the systemic oppressions that just are part of the systems that are around us. So definitely personally resonated with me. I have to give the credit to kind of mapping and weaving these things together to Mark for that grand vision and bringing us into it. But really, it's this idea that profit only doesn't really work, right? We've seen that. And oftentimes with purpose-led companies, the mission can come at the expense of being a scalable, sustainable business, right? The profit side. And we also know you can't do like kind of 50-50. So this idea of saying, okay, well, we want to make this change. We know these ways of doing it don't work. How can we rearrange these pieces and build something different and hopefully prove that you can build something different, not just different and better, and not just once, but multiple times over at the scale of venture. And that's really where kind of the pieces came together in saying, we know certain ways aren't working. What better time than now? And why not us to step into this with a team of really supportive people and welcoming different perspective, different lived experiences, and recognizing that none of us are one thing. We all contain multitudes and have different identities that we hold and can't be defined as a single thing. And from a business perspective, there's data. It's data backed that diverse-led startups, women-founded, women-led, companies led by people of color, they perform well and often overperform compared to their white male counterparts. So it's not just a personal belief, there's data behind it. And in my mind, that's a type of impact. It's not just the type of company you're building. Of course, there's space for lots of different impact companies, and those are vitally important. But part of making change for me personally and what I bring to the table at Renew with the team is that it's also who we choose to support. And supporting founders who are historically excluded and overlooked is one way that we can do that change.
It is so important. Because this is such an important thing to me, and I know it is to you, I had begun to see this as conventional wisdom, right? Uh, Mainstream, understood. I did a little survey on LinkedIn. Of course, that's not scientifically valid in any sense. So let's not overstate the importance of this. But I asked people, with their impact investing dollars, do you want to invest in social impact, minority founders, um, women founders, or LGBTQ founders primarily? What's your focus? And 90 plus percent said social impact, and and no one chose minority founders. No one chose women founders. The LGBTQ poll got a few votes, and so I was just. It seems to me that there is a gap here between people seeing the social impact of investing in a diverse founder that they don't see when they're investing in a social enterprise that does something good. How would you pitch to someone who thinks of themselves as an impact investor? How would you pitch backing diverse founders as an impact?
Ultimately, it goes back to why not both? Why not all three or all four or two of the above? And innately as humans, we need to categorize. And I understand from a business and a data standpoint, the need for categorization. And also, I think it's important to recognize where those choices are limiting when we force them to be exclusive, right? To say only social impact or, for example, only a women founder. Why not both? Right. And so for me, I tend to invite people into conversation and ask questions, not to prove someone wrong, but to engage in dialogue and to better understand and kind of pick apart these complex and oftentimes tangled circumstances in a really approachable human way. And just inviting the question of, what do you mean by impact? When you choose social impact, what does that mean to you? Because what I've learned in my time on the impact side is that, yes, we have criteria, but it is contextual. And so using questioning and exploration in community and with grace, giving people grace and authenticity, you can kind of start to unravel the why and present more information, new information or different perspectives. And rather than pitching someone or giving a case, because that's not going to work for everyone. And for some people, social impact might be a priority for them for very valid reasons, but it doesn't mean that they're necessarily saying that the others aren't valid. So I think it's like there is oftentimes a tendency in this industry that is all about moving fast and breaking things, whether or not that's the best approach, to force choices that don't have to be one versus the other, instead of saying, how can we do more?
Yeah. I think that's a brilliant response to help us think about doing more of a both and rather than either or. And I appreciate that. I want to talk a little bit about this concept that you and Mark created of purpose rounds. This is I'm so excited by this incredible work, and why don't you explain the model? I want to explain the model, but I should let you explain the model, and then maybe we can talk more about it. But tell us about purpose rounds.
Well, I love that you can explain the model. That is such a signal that
Well, I think I can.
we're doing it right. No, I know you can. I've heard you do it. And to me, that's a good sign, because it isn't about us. It's not about Renew VC. It isn't about us as individuals. It's something bigger. And so really what purpose rounds are is what we decided to name as a category of funding, where impact or companies led by a historically excluded founder can or does choose to do a fundraise, right, via Reg A, Reg CF, et cetera, but really opening up expansion capital to accredited and non-accredited investors. And so while we have mechanisms that we can do as Renew VC to facilitate and be a part of those, often there are purpose rounds happening that we don't even have a part in, don't know, don't touch. And that's really encouraging. But it's really saying, how are you using the power of purpose and the power of community to democratize the investment opportunity? So it's not just Wall Street or accredited investors who already have the financial wealth and privilege to invest and participate in the financial upside of a company. But how can you open up that to Main Street investors, while also saying, how can we provide supplementary or complementary funding mechanisms for companies that maybe venture capital isn't the right fit for a litany of reasons?
Yeah, it is exciting to think about this. You know, VCs traditionally have a fairly narrow scope. Most funds, literally the organizing documents limit the scope of what they can invest in. It's frustrating to entrepreneurs when they don't fit in the VC box. Um, and there are stories of entrepreneurs who pitch 100 times and get a deal on the last time. But there are plenty of entrepreneurs who pitch 100 times and never come away with any venture capital. And these purpose rounds provide a really powerful alternative, don't they?
They do. And I think there's also the idea that VC is one of many different financing mechanisms. And I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, my friend Anastasia, about how the idea of having, much like in marketing, you'll have a channel mix. Entrepreneurs should think about financing and funding as a capital mix. And there are different things for different seasons, for different goals, for different scale. And VC is one valid option, but it isn't all of it. And I say this as somebody, at a venture firm. So clearly I believe that there is a good use case for it, but it isn't the solution for everything. And while VC has gotten a lot of headlines and buzz, and that's awesome, it also can lead founders down the path. And I've certainly had my days as a co-founder where I thought VC was the only path. And hearing no 100 times to get the yes, or oftentimes more than 100 times, and maybe even not getting a yes, isn't necessarily the only or the right way for a founder to approach their business. It can be, and then you should pursue it. But
Yeah.
there's no silver bullet in business, Devin. If there was, we'd all be billionaires.
That's a good reminder. Now, before we take a break, I want to ask you one key question. Give people, if you would, kind of an overview. I know a lot of people who watch shows where there's a venture capitalist involved. They want to know, can I pitch? How do I pitch? Am I a fit? Give people a little bit of an overview on your process and what you're looking for, so that the entrepreneurs who are listening for that information aren't disappointed.
Absolutely. I'll keep it tight too. So we actually have we go across the capital stack. So we have a venture studio, we have our impact fund, and then we have expansion capital via purpose rounds. So really we can span pre-institutional capital all the way through, raising 75 million. That's not a hard limit. I'm just throwing a number out as an example. But really to equalize and to try to democratize that playing field, we are a no warm intro company. You go to renewvc.com. There's a form. You fill it out, send the information, and it goes into our pipeline. So try to keep it simple, straightforward, and as equitable as possible. So we're really evaluating the businesses and the founders, not pedigree or a friend you went to summer camp with that now works at a certain company, and leveraging that network, but really trying to keep things as even and equitable as possible.
Yeah. I love the no warm intro model. I think VCs for the longest time have used a warm intro as a as critical part of screening, and I watched that happen for decades without fully appreciating the embedded uh, injury, the embedded harm that that process imposes. I often think of uh, a black woman graduating from, uh, say, Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, uh, and a white guy graduated from Stanford with exactly the same degrees. And think about how different their access to a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley might be, even though they have exactly the same skill set, right? So anyway, love you. Let's we got to take a quick break, folks. But when we come back, we're here with Katie McBratney from Renew Venture Capital. Amazing human being. We're thrilled to have her. When we come back, we're going to talk to her about her superpower. You don't want to miss this, so stick around.
You can get in on the ground floor to help fix the climate crisis for as little as $100. Pause now to scan the QR code to get started or visit s4g.biz/raisegreen. You can be a green at Raise Green. Join us at Supercrowd Chicago with community-focused business leaders and investors working to support diverse founders, social entrepreneurs, and community builders. Learn how to raise money from the crowd and invest like a pro on June 12th at Columbia College Chicago. Register now at thesupercrowd.com. Hope to raise money from the impact crowd. Good investors are as interested in community, social or environmental impact as you. Connect with Funding Hope, an SEC-registered FINRA member crowdfunding portal to learn how to raise capital from the impact crowd. Scan the QR code now.
Welcome back, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here today with Katie McBratney of Renew Venture Capital. And she is an amazing human being, done amazing things, and we're going to be talking about her superpower. So stick around. Katie, thank you so much for being here. We're just thrilled to have you. You have done truly remarkable things, and I'm grateful. You know, you've had kind of a circuitous route to venture capital with successful entrepreneurship along the way. Um, what do you see as your superpower?
I would say curiosity. I love learning. I love asking questions, and that's led me, that served me well in this nonlinear career path and in my non-work life. But having this natural curiosity that I've learned to embrace and really lean into and push aside any fear of asking questions and coming at it from a place of learning and observation and not judgment. So just following pure curiosity and saying, why? Oh, okay. Well, how does that work? Does it have to work that way? What would happen if we did this? Oh, you know someone interesting? I'd like to know more. So this endless curiosity and really feeling like that's a superpower instead of a lack of understanding, because there's so much to know in the world. No one knows it all. No one knows it all about one thing. None of us are the only expert in something. And just following that and letting that lead me and embracing it instead of waiting until the end to ask questions, but really learning how to use curiosity as a tool to connect with people on a real authentic level, but also to understand how things work both at a macro and a micro level, and where there might be possibilities is definitely a superpower of mine that I like to use to start to untangle some really juicy knots.
Yeah, I think that's really profound. And I hate to be looking at this personally, but I can't help it. I've often, and you kind of hinted at this, right? I've often felt like because I don't know everything, I'm insecure. I see it as a weakness. And you lean into that and say, no, that's my superpower, that I'm curious and that I want to know, that I recognize I don't know everything. That's profound. That's profound. Um,
Thank you.
uh,
Well, and
I,
it allows me also then to lean into where I am more of an expert than other people and try to operate in my zone of genius. One thing I learned early in my career, I got my career started at a nonprofit, which taught me how to be scrappy and resourceful and responsible,
yeah.
right, for getting the job done and the care of everything. And then moving into entrepreneurship, there's a difference between having to wear all of the hats and getting to a position or to a place in your company, your career, where you can operate more in your zone of genius versus trying to be the best at everything, because you just can't be. And it really helps me then lean on my team and Paul, who's an absolute world-class expert in design. I don't have to be a design expert because I know one. I get to collaborate with one. Mark knows more about finance than like I could ever imagine. Even if I went to school right now. And being able to tap into that and then add to that with what I add to the mix is something that I wish I would have fit together and understood more readily earlier.
Yeah. As you think about this curiosity as a superpower, can you think of a specific example of how you have used that and had it sort of work that you can
Mhm.
illustrate that superpower?
Yeah, there's an example actually just from yesterday. I was at an event with Techstars here in Atlanta and was talking with the founder. And he told me that with his product, he was actually having an interesting meeting with a certain kind of customer that he didn't expect. And I said, "Why didn't you expect it?" And he first told me his original hypothesis. And I was like, "That's awesome. So what made it work? Why? Cool that you learned that you weren't 100% right. What new right thing did you learn from this?" And as he told me, I was able to quickly connect dots in my head and say, "I know somebody I need to introduce you to." I don't know if they're the decision maker who makes the purchase decision at their company, but if they're not, they're going to know who it is, and they're the right person for you to talk to. So being unafraid to say, "I don't know your business. I can't know it as well as you will because I'm not the founder," and coming at it from that place of humility and saying, why was that wrong? Why is this right? Allowed me to then make what is hopefully a really valuable introduction with just a
No, that's fantastic. Uh, Katie, as you think about developing this, shifting your mindset from curiosity as a weakness or curiosity as an artifact to curiosity as a superpower, how would you do that? How do you develop, uh, that curiosity into something constructive and powerful?
I can only tell you what works for me because everybody's different. Our brains and our lives are different. What works for me is reading. I want to read everything all of the time and do not keep up with my own ambition there. So I think reading and reading different things. So if you tend to only read fiction, add some nonfiction. If you tend to only read business books, maybe add some poetry. You never know what you might expect or what you can get out of something that you didn't expect. The other thing is get off your screen for a minute. I love that y'all are watching and that you're on the screen with us right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And also giving your brain that liminal space. It's why we have our great ideas in the shower or while we're washing dishes or whatever, is it allows us to put things together, realize patterns that maybe we don't see when we're looking so closely or when we're jumping from notification or task to task, and just giving yourself space to be and not do. And that can help you just notice things more. And as you start to notice, you have more data endpoints, you get potential different mixes of outputs coming. So I just love that. I love the idea of, yes, there's so many productivity habits, so many business books to recommend, but what works for me is stepping outside of that and disconnecting from kind of the churn of the attention economy.
Yeah, profound. Um, Katie, as we wrap up here, take a minute now and tell people how they can learn more about Renew VC, how they can connect with you personally, how they can follow you on social media, or whatever your jam is. Tell them how to do it.
I'd love to. So you can learn more about us at renewvc.com. And we are on all the socials there, but most active on LinkedIn, which is no big surprise. I am personally on LinkedIn as well. It's the best way to reach out to me on social. It's where I'm the most active currently. Who knows what'll happen in the future? And while I said we don't do warm intros for pitches, I love meeting folks. So don't be afraid to reach out and say hi, to see if we can chat sometime. If you're going to an event where I might also be, let me know. So no warm intros doesn't mean that I don't want to meet folks and I don't want to connect in our community. It's just how if you want to pitch, go there. If you want to chat, hit me up.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being with us. We wish you every success.
Thank you so much. This was a delight.
Oh, thank you. Let's do some good.